7 secret Cadillacs built only for U.S. presidents and banned forever. These weren't your average caddies. Bulletproof, tricked out, and built just for the prez. Most got scrapped or hidden, making them legendary rides you'll never see.
Make sure to subscribe and smash the like button.
Number 7. Now, if you thought Cadillacs were just for Sunday drives to the golf course, let me introduce you to the big dog of the bunch, the 1983 Cadillac Fleetwood, built for President Ronald Reagan. This wasn't just a car, it was basically a rolling bank vault with leather seats. Built at the height of the Cold War, this thing had more armor than some small nations. The doors were so thick they could probably stop a freight train, and the glass was bulletproof enough to make James Bond jealous. Underneath all that steel, though, it was still technically a Cadillac, which meant smooth ride, plush seats, and enough chrome to blind onlookers on a sunny day. But don't get it twisted, no private buyer was ever getting their hands on one. This was Uncle Sam's exclusive ride. If you wanted a Fleetwood this tough, you had to get elected president or be the guy driving him. And even then, you weren't behind the wheel of a car. You were piloting a land yacht with the turning radius of an aircraft carrier. Americans called it a limo, but in reality, it was more like a four-wheeled bunker with white-wall tires. Sure, it wasn't winning any drag races, but if the Soviets ever launched a surprise attack during a parade, you could bet Reagan was sitting back in the rear seat sipping coffee, knowing his Cadillac was built to shrug it off. So while the regular Fleetwood was cruising country clubs, the Reagan limousine stayed locked away as a one-of-a-kind Cold War tank on wheels. Proof that sometimes luxury and paranoia ride together just fine. Number 6. All right, folks, let's talk about Richard Nixon's ride, the 1972 Cadillac Fleetwood limousine. Now, this wasn't your grandma's caddy that she drove to bingo night. Oh no, this was a Cold War chariot, part fortress, part spy movie prop, and all presidential swagger. Picture this: bulletproof glass thicker than a deli sandwich, armor plating heavy enough to make the suspension cry, and secret gadgets tucked away like Nixon had Q from James Bond on speed dial. Rumor has it, this beast had communications gear so advanced for the time, he could probably call Beijing while stuck in Washington traffic. But here's the kicker. While regular Americans were trying to score a station wagon that wouldn't rust through in 3 winters, Nixon was rolling around in a private tank with leather seats. And don't even think about buying one yourself. Uncle Sam made sure this kind of ride was outlawed for the public. No car dealership in America was gonna sell you a Fleetwood that could shrug off a bazooka. And let's not forget the irony. Nixon's limo was a symbol of untouchable power, yet he still couldn't escape Watergate. You can have all the bulletproof glass in the world, but it won't protect you from tape recorders and a couple of nosy journalists. In the end, the 1972 Cadillac Fleetwood Nixon limousine was less a car and more a rolling bunker, proving once again that when it came to presidential rides, safety, secrecy, and style all hitched a ride together. And Nixon? Well, he got to ride in the fanciest fortress on wheels, until he had to wave goodbye from a helicopter instead. Number 5. This beast wasn't just a limo, it was a rolling fortress designed for President Lyndon B. Johnson. Cadillac took their already massive Series 75 and basically turned it into a security bunker on wheels. We're talking bulletproof glass thicker than a milkshake at a 1950s diner, reinforced armor panels, hidden communications gear, the whole 9 yards. If the White House could have put tank treads on it without raising eyebrows, they probably would have. Now here's the kicker. While Cadillac was bragging about their shiny showroom models with tail fins and chrome, nobody outside of the Secret Service even got a peek at this limo's spec sheet. To the average Joe, it looked like a regular luxury Caddy, but under the skin, it was more Fort Knox than Sunday Drive. You could roll this baby through a riot, and the only thing you'd have to worry about was whether the chauffeur had the AC set too high. Of course, private buyers never had a chance of owning one. Uncle Sam locked that tech down tighter than Grandma's cookie jar. If you strolled into a dealership and said, "Hey, I'll take the bulletproof Johnson limo with the hidden gadgets," they'd laugh you right back out the door. So, while Cadillac fans of the 60s drooled over Eldorados and DeVilles, LBJ was cruising in something that made Batman's Batmobile look like a toy. Safe to say, this was one Cadillac that never made it to the showroom floor, unless your showroom happened to be the Oval Office garage.
Number 4. This wasn't just your run-of-the-mill Eldorado with some extra chrome slapped on. Nope, this was a one-off showpiece that Cadillac cooked up and then handed over to Uncle Sam, turning it into a presidential limousine. Think of it as Cadillac's way of saying, "Hey America, look how fancy we can get. Now let's armor it up and stick a president in the back." The car itself had all the 1950s flair you'd expect. Mile-long body, fins sharp enough to slice bread, and more chrome than a diner jukebox. But once it was converted for White House duty, the fun really began. Bulletproof glass, reinforced panels, secret communications gear. Basically, this Caddy went from "drive me to the sock hop" to "survive the Cold War." It was less a limo and more a rolling Oval Office, just with a whole lot more leather. Now here's where it gets funny. The public never had a shot at owning one. No matter how deep your pockets were, you couldn't just stroll into a Cadillac dealer and say, "I'll take the presidential special, please," and throw in the armor plating while you're at it. The government locked this thing away tighter than Fort Knox. Regular folks got stuck with the showroom Eldorado, while the commander-in-chief cruised around in the one Cadillac so exclusive it made millionaires jealous. In short, the 1956 Eldorado Presidential Special wasn't just banned from public sale, it was in a whole different league. It was Cadillac's crown jewel, transformed into America's ultimate boss car. And unless your name happened to be Eisenhower, the closest you were getting to it was a magazine picture.
Number 3. Let's roll back to the dawn of the 1950s and talk about one serious heavyweight, the 1950 Cadillac Series 75 Truman Limousine. This wasn't your granddad's Sunday cruiser. Nope, this thing was stretched, armored, and so exclusive that unless your name was Harry S. Truman, you were never getting past the door handles. Picture it, America's booming, Cadillac's the top dog of luxury, and here comes the White House asking for something special. What did they get? A car that looked like a rolling battleship in a tuxedo. Underneath all that shiny chrome and smooth Cadillac style was armor plating thick enough to laugh off small arms fire. And the glass? Forget about it.
bulletproof, heavy as sin, and just about impossible to roll down for a drive-through milkshake. Inside, it was less family road trip and more mobile command center. Plush leather seats, intercom systems, and enough space in the back for Truman to stretch out and scheme about the Cold War. It wasn't just transportation, it was a statement. America rides first class, and you better believe the president's not showing up in a Ford. Now here's the kicker. Ordinary Americans couldn't even dream of owning one. Cadillac dealerships weren't stocking these bad boys out back. You could buy a regular Series 75 if you were loaded, sure, but this armored White House-only edition? That was strictly government issue. Uncle Sam kept it locked down tighter than Grandma's cookie jar. So, the 1950 Cadillac Truman limo wasn't just a car, it was a rolling fortress, a chrome-plated symbol of power, and a reminder that sometimes the coolest rides in America were the ones you could never, ever buy. For the rest of us, well, we just had to settle for drooling at the photos and daydreaming about what it'd be like to pull up to the drive-in in one of those beasts.
Number 2. Now this wasn't just any fancy four-door cruiser. Nope, this was Franklin D. Roosevelt's personal rolling command post, built while most of America's car factories were pumping out tanks, jeeps, and all the heavy metal the war machine could swallow. Here's the deal. Civilian car production was basically banned during the war. Steel, rubber, and chrome were all rationed, and Joe Average couldn't even think about ordering a new Cadillac. But when the president needed a ride, well, normal rules didn't apply. Cadillac whipped up a custom armored Series 75, stretching it out, padding it with all sorts of luxe and protective features, and basically saying, "Mr. President, you're rolling in style, even while the world's on fire." This beast was heavy, think tank-level weight, with reinforced body panels and bulletproof glass that could make a linebacker blush. Inside, it was all business. Comfy seats, enough legroom to nap, and enough chrome to make even a Hollywood set designer jealous. The war limo wasn't just a car. It was a statement that the commander-in-chief rolls in Cadillac-class comfort while dodging bombs and plotting history. For the rest of America, well, you were stuck with rationing coupons and tired pre-war designs. But FDR, he was gliding around Washington, D.C. like a king in a steel-plated chariot. And if you think that sounds like overkill, welcome to wartime America, baby. Overkill was the style, and Cadillac delivered. This ride wasn't just a car. It was history on wheels, a war-era luxury tank, and proof that some folks' cars get a free pass while the rest of us wait in line at the gas pump.
Number 1. All right, let's roll back to 1938, pre-World War II America, and talk about the Cadillac V16 presidential parade car. Basically, the ultimate don't even think about touching this ride. This wasn't your average town car. Nope, it was Franklin D. Roosevelt's personal armored chariot, built to make the president look sharp while staying bulletproof on parade routes. We're talking V16 power, folks. That's 16 cylinders humming under the hood like a small symphony orchestra. Smooth, monstrous, and plenty of grunt to carry all that armor without turning into a sluggish mess. Inside, luxurious leather, wood trim, and enough room for FDR and his entourage to wave at the crowd without bumping elbows. Outside, thick steel panels, armored glass, and a presence that basically screamed, "Step back, peasants, the commander-in-chief is rolling through." Civilians never got a sniff of this thing. Regular folks were still cruising around in standard Cadillacs or pre-war Fords, dreaming of legroom and decent suspension. Meanwhile, FDR's parade car was practically a tank on wheels, blending style, safety, and political swagger in one shiny package. And let's be real, this car was more than transportation. It was a rolling PR machine, a symbol of presidential power, and a sneaky flex. Yeah, we're leading the free world, and we do it in V16 style. If you think overkill was unnecessary, remember, it's hard to look presidential while waving from a compact sedan. Cadillac got it right, massive, armored, and utterly untouchable. In short, the 1938 Cadillac V16 presidential parade car was a big, loud, shiny statement on wheels. Luxury, security, and history, all wrapped into a ride civilians could only dream about.